Take it away.
As I take it away, let me give you some food for thought. Yesterday, we saw civilians pitted against each other.
Yeah.
While some section of civilians were on the streets calling out poor governance, poor leadership in echelons of government. Others were being used because of poverty and unemployment to fight those who are fighting for their rights. How diabolical are we? As you ponder on that, now let's bring you up to speed with stories that have been making headlines, where one person was shot and several others injured as police battled goons and protesters who staged demonstrations in Nairobi's central business district. The demos that began Tuesday morning lasted for hours as protesters called for the resignation of the Inspector General of Police and his deputy over the death of blogger Albert Ojwang. This as the National Police Service confirmed the arrest of the police officer who was captured on camera shooting an unarmed civilian in Nairobi's CBD. Giverson Minor has a recap of yesterday's events.
Tuesday morning at the Nairobi Central Business District, protesters made to their threats and poured on the streets to express their anger over the death of blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang. However, goons armed with batons also took to the streets, seemingly to battle the protesters. They hovered around with motorbikes with their faces covered with masks. Some even decanting on security cameras mounted along the city streets and looting shops. The demos paralyzing public transport and thousands forced to walk to various destinations. Matatus plying Thika Road route parked far at the Globe roundabout, where passengers onboarded to hurry out of town as sounds of tear gas canisters and gunshots filled the air. The main battle front was at the intersection of Moi Avenue and Kenyatta Avenue and Tomboya Street adjacent to Menti House.
Na nimekasirishwa sana na matendo ya serikali.
One person was shot after a brief engagement with the police. In a rejoinder, Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja said the police officer caught on camera gunning down an armed protester has been arrested. Kanja ordering for his arraignment in court. And as the demos faded, the extent of destructions became clear, most businesses' premises paying the ultimate price. In Mombasa County, 4 human rights activists were arrested as police dispersed the handful of protesters who held a peaceful demonstration in the streets of the coastal city.
We are peaceful! We are peaceful!
The activists who began the procession from the IPOS branch office along Moi Avenue accused the police of unlawfully obstructing their right to peaceful demonstrations.
We have security officers that have condoned, barricaded the venue that we were supposed to initiate and begin our peaceful demonstration, calling for justice for the late Albert Ojwang.
Ofisi yetu ya Mombasa itafuatilia hili jambo kuona mbona polisi wamekataa nyinyi msiandamane, ili hali ni haki yenu, na kama wamedecline, it should be in written communication that these are the reasons as to why we are not allowing you to go ahead and do the demonstrations.
Defiant protesters took to the streets and clashed with police for hours and hours, leaving behind destruction and injuries.
Now, the reason why the social media platforms are, are rife with hashtags including total shutdown as well as read the room in regard to that matter. What was your experience yesterday? We'd want to hear your views. Get us on X at KBC Channel 1. Now, members of the National Assembly have condemned the use of excessive force by police, especially during public protests. During a debate on a special motion to approve 3 nominees to the National Police Service Commission, lawmakers called in the incoming commissioners to prioritize comprehensive police reforms, and the MPs emphasized that the new commissioners must urgently address a culture of impunity within the police service and ensure that officers uphold human rights and the rule of law.
It is totally reckless and irresponsible what that police officer has done, and they are doing a disservice to this government, because when you make 5 steps forward or 10 steps forward, they take you 50 back. And we need to be moving forward as a country.
We must, Honorable Speaker, begin thinking of how we can enjoy these fundamental freedoms while aware they have limits, and while aware these police officers, if they avoided keeping law and order, there is a problem. That is not to say our police should behave. Indeed, those ones who misbehave must be held accountable.
At this point in time, where we are facing a bit of difficulties as a country, that we should not look away. The work of the National Police Service Commission is cut out, particularly in the area of accountability and transparency, of us being able to address ourselves to the citizens of our country.
We'll be keeping tabs on that, given that the reports that were received yesterday evening, and we had government officials confirming that they said a man who was shot at gunpoint during the protest, he's in critical care and receiving that medical assistance at the Kenyatta National Hospital. We'll be keeping tabs on that development to find out if indeed was a man who was captured on camera, or even it was someone else. We'll be keeping tabs on that to give you clarity on the matter. Now, the High Court has declined bail applications for 3 accused persons in the murder of Kasipul MP Charles Ongondo Were. Justice Diana Kavedza cited that releasing the 3 at this juncture, based on the nature of their charge, would compromise justice. As Ruth Wamboi reports, the judge has urged all parties to tighten their seatbelts as she promised to dispense with the matter in 4 months.
The 3 accused person, a Lake Basin officer Ibelucheng, alias Dave Kalo, Edwin Othiambo and William Emoli Shigali, alias Emo, application for bail through their lawyer Hita Dave Ia.
Number 3, this court has the power, the authority and the jurisdiction to actually even direct the accused persons from never communicating or interfering with any witness whatsoever. And should that be done, the consequence is that bail is cancelled.
Is a matter of evidence which my lady cannot discern at this stage unless such evidence is subjected to a test of its veracity by way of cross-examination.
The court also declined a request by the 3rd accused, William Emoli Shigali, alias Zemo, to bury his mother, with the judge citing granting the request will be setting a bad precedence.
The application to attend the burial of the mother is denied because I do not know whether he's a flight risk. I do not know whether, I cannot guarantee his safety. He is in prison. How is he going to be escorted from prison? Where to the burial place is where? Is it Langata? Western. How? Where are the resources?
The accused on the 4th of June this month had threatened to kill a state prosecutor after their bail terms were also declined. Prosecuting counsel Evelyn Onunga told trial judge Diana Kavesa they have a watertight case ahead and the accused should remain behind bars.
And my lady, the discreet nature of how Witness Protection Agency operates, we may not table any document before you to demonstrate that actually there's a process undergoing.
The judge has ordered for a probation report with the investigating officer and the probation officer, citing they will need 30 days to prepare.
The 20 witnesses, proper pre-trial, I should be able to finalize the case within 4 months. But your name is Oliver who? Nabonwe. Usinilete story ya 100 investigating officers, 50 arresting officers. Unaweza chukua kamoja tuwili hapa, so that we move with speed. You can see the anxiety that the case has created.
The accused have been in custody for 50 days now since the late MP was killed on 30th April this year at the city funeral roundabout.
Funerals are never repeated, and just basically on humanitarian grounds. So denying him the opportunity to attend the mother's funeral, yet he's still innocent until proven otherwise, I believe is inhuman and it is wrong.
Mama yake haswa mzazi alisikia machungu na ameweza kutuaga, lakini koti nayo imeamua hawezi kuhudhuria kufuatana na uzito wa kesi yenyewe. Yote tunashukuru Mungu itatendeka kwa Mungu ndio mwenye uwezo.
Even as the wheels of justice for the late Kasipul MP Ongondo Were continue to grind, the third accused, Emoli Shigali, will have to attend his mother's burial virtually, pending the ruling on his bail application. Ruth Wamboi reporting from Kibera High Court.
And in those 4 months, we'll be keeping tabs on the development from the courts. Still on matters justice, a software developer accused of defrauding NCBA Bank over 57 million shillings will be detained for 5 days to allow police to complete their investigations. The ruling by Minimani Law Courts magistrate follows a court session where both the prosecution and the defense presented contrasting arguments on whether the suspect should remain in custody or be released on bond. Elsewhere, a former chief of protocol officer in Garissa faces charges of forgery and fraudulently acquiring public property worth 6.8 million shillings. Latua Deborah with the details.
The prosecution, through Corporal Amos Ndonyo of the Banking Fraud Investigation Unit, told the court that Harry Nandwa was a key suspect in a complex banking fraud that targeted NCBA's Bank Rwanda subsidiary.
Noting the technical expertise of the respondent, who is a software developer, there's a possibility that he will gain access into the system, which may result into more loss of funds to the bank and its clients.
Nandwa, who previously worked as a consultant, is alleged to have tampered with the mobile banking system, triggering illegal transactions that led to the loss of 57.5 million shillings. Presiding Magistrate Ikubi granted a 5-day detention period and scheduled the matter for mention on June 24, 2025.
I find the application to be merited and competent to the extent that the respondent would be detained for a period of 5 days at the Capitol Hill Police Station. So I've granted the pre-trial detention for 5 days.
Elsewhere, Hadija Abdullahi Bare, a public officer formerly employed at the county government of Garissa as a chief protocol officer, has been charged with multiple offences including fraudulent acquisition of public property, deceiving a principal, forgery and altering false documents. Ms. Barre is accused of illegally acquiring property valued at 6.8 million Kenya shillings and providing forged academic documents purportedly from the University of Nairobi to secure her employment. She was released on a cash bail of 100,000 Kenya shillings or a bond of 500,000 Kenya shillings. And 7 police officers accused of shooting and killing Daniel Mwangi in London Estate, Nakuru on June 9th have been detained for 7 more days, pending investigations by Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA. The 7 are Sergeant Nikaso Njue, Corporals Eric Mwangi and John Kihara, and Constables Naftali Gitonga, Ephantas Njeru, Marcela Tanui, and Isaac Anampoe. Senior Resident Magistrate Senior Muhoro, however, declined to grant IPOA 14 days they had sought through the Office of Director of Public Prosecution.
Through this miscellaneous application, I will allow the application party, the respondents shall remain at Menengai Police Station for a further 7 days or not 14 days, pending completion of the investigations. So we mentioned the matter on 24th of June before the duty court.
From the courts, the government has supplied crucial relief items to victims of a fire that broke out at a stage Wuria in Kawangware, Nairobi County, killing one person and rendering 14 families homeless. Through the Ministry of Public Service, Human Capital and Special Programs, the State Department for Special Programs underscored the government's commitment to responding promptly to disasters and alleviating the suffering of affected communities. The emergency supplies include foodstuff, beddings, soap and dignity packs. The exercise follows an early morning assessment visit by the Cabinet Secretary, Geoffrey Rocco.
Tumefika na blanketi pia ya kusema pole kwa wale ambao wamechomekewa. Tumefika na chakula kidogo, mchere na maharagwe. Lazima tushikane, tufanye hii kazi pamoja, tukuje tusaidie wale ambao wameathiriwa.
Wale wameathiriwa tunataka tuwapatie pole.
The country is yet to meet its annual contribution towards vaccine procurement in the Gavi co-financing program, even as the Ministry of Health secures an additional 930 million shillings in the supplementary budget 3 to offset the 620 million shillings balance which is due in June. This comes amid a countrywide concern over the shortage of childhood vaccines in health facilities, which has seen the Ministry of Health adopt short-term measures to address the challenge.
As the country grapples with childhood vaccine shortage crisis, the Ministry of Health is banking on a 930 million shillings from Treasury allocated in the supplementary 3 to offset a balance of 620 million shillings to meet its annual contribution towards vaccine procurement in the Gavi co-financing program.
Basically, we have to put some money for Gavi to support us, and that money, 930 million, has actually been made available. This disruption came because we did not meet the deadline, but this money now will help us meet the deadline, and we should be able to forestall any shortages.
National Assembly Health Committee Chairperson Dr. James Nyikal, while responding to a statement regarding the shortage of vaccines, said much as the ministry has adopted short-term measures, more needs to be done.
The most difficult one has been the timely disbursement of funds. Our goal is clear. No child or eligible person should ever miss a life-saving vaccine due to preventable supply chain failures.
To address the shortage, the Ministry of Health made an emergency disbursement of 1 billion shillings to support procurement of essential vaccines through UNICEF, including BCG, oral polio, tetanus, diphtheria, among others, and distributed on 4th and 11th of June. The counties that received include Kisumu, Kakamega, Nakuru, Eldoret, Garissa, Meru, Nyeri, Nairobi, and Mombasa, with BCG totaling 1.94 million, oral polio 1.9 million, and tetanus 1.05 million.
These quantities are sufficient to sustain the country's routine immunization program for a period of 3 months. Now, the logistics for quick distribution, as you have said earlier, across the country is working with the Council of Governors through the county government.
Before the 11th, when the vaccines were made available, there were children who were born in various hospitals, including my own constituency, and did not receive these vaccines. And I'm sure it will be all over around the country. Perhaps I would have expected the chair to give just a guideline to Kenyans, because there's those children who did not get those vaccines. What happens? Those mothers took those children, went home, and those children remain at home.
Do some advocacy to the country that those children who are born in hospitals and missed BCG vaccinations should go back and get them.
In a co-funding framework agreement, Kenya is expected to make its annual contribution towards vaccine procurement.
Now to matters business, the Kenya Revenue Authority will not have unfettered powers to access taxpayers' private data. The National Assembly says the tax agency will only have access to information regarding the tax history of a taxpayer. Parliament says these are some of the planned amendments to the Tax Procedure Act. Legislators have also slashed the taxes to be raised from the Finance Bill to 24 billion shillings from 30 billion shillings.
National Treasury wanted some clauses of the Tax Procedure Act amended to give Kenya Revenue Authority sweeping powers to compel individuals and companies to disclose data of a taxpayer without a court order or the consent of the third party. The move faced major backlash on grounds of violation of the constitutional rights to data privacy. The National Assembly's Finance and Planning Committee has rejected the clause, terming the provision unnecessary and potentially unconstitutional.
There are some institutions that have a recipe for some beverages that are said should never be shared with members of the public. Now, what happens if you give access to such particular data, Honorable Speaker?
If, for example, you go sleep in a hotel, KRA can be able to get your data to know where you slept and whom you slept with.
I do support the committee's move to delete clause 52 so that the commissioner does not require any person to integrate or share data that is relating to trade secrets, but most importantly, to private or personal data.
The tax agency said the move was aimed at tightening tax loopholes. The committee says there are tax procedures and legal avenues that KRA can use to access taxpayers' data. At the same time, the committee plans to slash the amount that the Finance Bill seeks to collect from 30 billion shillings to 24 billion shillings.
Government projects to generate an additional 24 billion in revenue for the 25-26, underscoring the commitment to building a fair, transparent and efficient tax system.
During the 2025-26 budget reading, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Badi said amendment to the Value Added Tax Act contained in the Finance Bill 2025 would help raise an additional 30 billion shillings to finance the budget deficit. The committee is also planning to extend pension tax breaks to private scheme pension managers.
So it says that provided that this exemption shall only apply to payment of gratuity or other allowance paid in public schemes. So we are deleting that particular paragraph and replacing it with the word only gratuity. So which means that this gratuity will be even those gratuity that are not in public pension schemes, not just those that are in private schemes, not only those in public schemes, Honourable Speaker.
The Finance Bill, which was tabled in Parliament on Thursday last week, is due for debate by legislators before it comes into force on the 1st of July 2025. Hearing on the bill continues.
Well, indeed, that puts a cap on matters in the headlines this morning. Some of the stories that we are keenly following up on is post-demos yesterday, where an unarmed civilian was shot on live camera by a police officer there. Government says that the said victim there is recuperating at the Kenyatta National Hospital, though in critical condition. We'll have a team go there in the morning to just get the details in regard to that matter. And also pursuant to matters of, justice and such, those who are arrested during the protest, we will have someone at the courts should they be produced in court. This also follows IG's directive to have that said police officer caught on camera shooting the unarmed civilian yesterday brought to book, or rather brought to justice. So we're expecting him in the courts, and Ruth Wamboi as well as Letua are on the courts and are going to be keeping tabs on that. Further details are available on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. I'm Regina Manyara. Have a great day ahead.